हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम बैक टू माय चैनल। तो आज की वीडियो में हम देखने वाले हैं एनसीईआरटी इकोनॉमिक्स का टेस्ट सीरीज़, जिसमें आज हम देखेंगे सेट 3। तो शुरू करते हैं हमारा आज का टेस्ट सीरीज़। और अगर आपको आंसर आता है तो मुझे कमेंट्स में बताइए। तो हमारा फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन है, कंसिडर द फॉलोइंग। इन अ क्लोज्ड इकोनॉमी, नो डिस्टिंक्शन इज टू बी मेड बिटवीन gross national product and gross domestic product. In an economy open to foreign trade, gross national product may be greater or less than gross domestic product, depending upon the net inflow or outflow of income. Which of the statements is or are correct? तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी, both 1 and 2. In a closed economy, no distinction is to be made between gross national product and gross domestic product. And in an economy open to foreign trade, gross national product may be greater or less than gross domestic product, depending upon the net inflow or outflow of income. What are the limitations of GNP as a measure of welfare? Quality of life is not determined by it. Gender disparities are not indicated. It does not matter how the increase in wealth takes place, whether by civilian demand or war. Choose the correct one. This answer is option D, all 1, 2 and 3. Quality of life is not determined by it. Gender disparities are not indicated. It does not matter how the increase in wealth takes place, whether by civilian demand or war. Under the output approach for the measurement of GDP, which of the following would be counted? Value of final goods services, investment, net exports. Choose the correct one. This answer is option A, only 1. Value of final goods services. The term used interchangeably for the inclusive growth is shared growth, broad-based growth, pro-poor growth. Choose the correct one. इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी, ऑल 1, 2 and 3. shared growth, broad-based growth and pro-poor growth. What do you understand by the GDP deflator? It is a comprehensive measure of inflation implicitly derived from national accounts data as a ratio of GDP at constant prices to current prices. It is a comprehensive measure of inflation implicitly derived from national accounts data as a ratio of GDP at current prices to constant prices. Which of the above explanations are correct? This answer is option B, 2 only. It is a comprehensive measure of inflation implicitly derived from national accounts data as a ratio of GDP at current prices to constant prices. The largest source of national income in India is service sector, agricultural sector, industrial sector, trade sector. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन ए, सर्विस सेक्टर. Consider the following statement. Dadabhai Naoroji was the first Indian to estimate the national income of the country. National Income Committee established in India after getting independence was headed by Professor V.K.R.B. Rao. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन ए, only 1. Dadabhai Naoroji was the first Indian to estimate the national income of the country. In which 5-year plan John W. Miller model was used? 3rd, 5th, 7th, 8th. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन बी, 5th. The main objectives of the first 5-year plan were to solve the food crisis and to improve the availability position of raw materials, especially of jute and cotton, to constitute administrative and organizational setup necessary for enforcing the development programs. Choose the correct one. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी, both 1 and 2. To solve the food crisis and to improve the availability position of raw materials, especially of jute and cotton, and to constitute administrative and organizational setup necessary for enforcing the development programs. What do you understand by rolling plan? It is totally opposite to the fixed plan. It is suggested by Gunnar Myrdal. Choose the correct one. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी बोथ 1 and 2. It is totally opposite to the fixed plan and it is suggested by Gunnar Myrdal. In 7th five-year plan, which of the following were emphasized? Self-sufficiency in food, decentralization of planning, reduction in income disparities. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी 1, 2 and 3. Self-sufficiency in food, decentralization of planning and reduction in income disparities. Indian planning is based on the principles of democratic socialism. The essential features of democratic socialism are listed below. Which one of these is wrong? It aims at reduction of inequalities of income and wealth. It emphasizes the growth of public sector to supplement the private sector. It endeavors to check the concentration of economic power and the growth of monopolistic tendencies. It aims at the provision of equal opportunities to all. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन बी. It emphasizes the growth of public sector to supplement the private sector. India had a plain holiday after the China-India War of 1962, after the drought of 1966, after the liberation of Bangladesh in 1971, after the India-Pakistan War in 1965. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन बी आफ्टर द ड्रॉट ऑफ 1966. Under which section of Income Tax Act the insured person can claim for tax deduction for the amount invested in insurance? Section 80D, Section 81D, Section 83D, Section 79D. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन ए Section 80D. Consolidated Fund of India includes all government revenues, loans raised, recovery of loans granted. Choose the correct one. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी all 1, 2 and 3. All government revenues, loans raised and recovery of loans granted. Consider the following. Primary deficit equals to fiscal deficit minus interest payments. The primary deficit shows the extent to which government is borrowing even if there is no interest is to be paid. Which of the statements is or are correct? तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी बोथ 1 and 2. Primary deficit equals to fiscal deficit minus interest payments, and the primary deficit shows the extent to which government is borrowing even if there is no interest is to be paid. Consider the following statements about 14th Finance Commission. The 14th Finance Commission is of the view that tax devolution should be the primary route for transfer of resources to the states. The Commission has significantly departed the previous Commission vis-a-vis recommendation of the principles governing grants in aid to the states by the center. Which of the statements is or are correct? तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी both 1 and 2. The 14th Finance Commission is of the view that tax devolution should be the primary route for transfer of resources to the states, and the Commission has significantly departed from previous Commission vis-a-vis recommendation of the principles governing grants in aid to the state by the center. Deficit financing is the phrase used to describe the financing of gap between government receipts and expenditure. It is financed by printing fresh money by the RBI. Which of the statements is or are correct? तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी both 1 and 2. Deficit financing is the phrase used to describe the financing of gap between government receipts and expenditure, and it is financed by printing fresh money by the RBI. Which of the following is non-tax revenue of central government? Currency, coins and mint, interest received, dividends earned, all of the above. This answer option D, all of the above. Currency, coinage and mint, interest receipts and dividends earned. Which of the following is made compulsory by the Income Tax Department for filing returns recently? Tax exemption number, document identification number, permanent account number, tax deduction and collection account number. This answer option B, document identification number. Which of the following statements is or are true for the income tax in India? It is a progressive tax, it is a direct tax, it is collected by the state governments, it is a proportional tax. This answer option B, 1 and 2 are correct. It is a progressive tax and it is a direct tax. The sum of which of the following constitutes borrowed money in India? Currency with the public, demand deposits with banks, time deposits with banks, other deposits with RBI. This answer है option B, A, B and C. Currency with the public, demand deposits with banks and time deposits with banks. Since independence, both planned and non-planned expenditure have increased. The increase in non-planned expenditure is little more than the former. Which one of the following expenditure causes the increase in non-planned expenditure? And select the correct answer using the codes. Interest payments, subsidy, irrigation. This answer option B, 1 and 2, interest payments and subsidy. Percentage of working population in the total population is called labor force, workforce, work participation rate, none of these. This answer is option C, work participation rate. Which of the following statements is or are correct? Improvement in female literacy rate has been better as compared to male literacy rate during 2001 to 11. Difference between male literacy rate and female literacy rate has narrowed down during 2001 to 11. Both, none. तो इसका आंसर है option C, both. Improvement in female literacy rate has been better as compared to male literacy rate during 2001 to 11, and difference between male literacy rate and female literacy rate has narrowed down during 2001 to 11. Which of the following is incorrect about population trends in India? During 1991 to 2011, decline in birth rate has been sharper as compared to decline in death rate. Infant mortality rate during the past 30 years has more than halved. Total fertility rate has declined from 3.6 in 1991 to 2.4 in 2011. None of these. तो इसमें इनकरेक्ट स्टेटमेंट पूछा है, तो इसका आंसर होगा ऑप्शन सी, टोटल फर्टिलिटी रेट हैज़ डिक्लाइन फ्रॉम 3.6 in 1991 to 2.4 in 2011. Consider the following statements. The National Population Register is the register of all permanent residents of India. It is being prepared under provisions of the Citizenship Act 1955 and the Citizenship Rules 2003. Registering in NPR is mandatory. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. This answer is option B, 2 and 3 only. It is being prepared under provision of the Citizenship Act 1955 and the Citizenship Rules 2003, and registering in NPR is mandatory. Which of the following statements are correct about dependency ratio? The total dependency ratio is the ratio of the sum of the population aged 0 to 14 and that aged 65 plus to the population aged 15 to 64. The child dependency ratio is the ratio of the population aged 0 to 14 to the population aged 15 to 64. The old age dependency ratio is the ratio of the population aged 65 years or over to the population aged 15 to 64. This can answer option C 1, 2 and 3. Which of the following criteria is taken account to define the urban area in India? A minimum population of 5,000, at least 3/4 of the male working population should be in non-agricultural sector. Density of the population should be at least 400 persons per square kilometer. All the criteria given above in A, B and C are taken account to define the urban area. This answer option D. All the criteria given above in A, B and C are taken account to define the urban area. Which of the following is incorrect about banking ombudsman scheme? The scheme was started by the RBI in 1995. The objective of the scheme is redressal of complaints of bank customers against the banks. The ombudsman cannot award penalty on the banks. None of this. तो इसमें हमारा इनकरेक्ट स्टेटमेंट पूछा है, तो इसका आंसर होगा ऑप्शन सी. द ombudsman cannot award penalty on the banks. Consider the following statements. Liquidity Adjustment Facility (LAF) was introduced by RBI in 2002. RBI has the discretion to change the spread between the repo rate and the reverse repo rate as when appropriate. Which of these statements is or are correct? इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी, both 1 and 2. Liquidity Adjustment Facility was introduced by RBI in 2000 and RBI has the discretion to change the spread between the repo rate and the reverse repo rate as when appropriate. Which among the following is or are the quantitative measures of credit control of RBI? Bank rate, CRR, open market operation. Choose the correct one. This answer is option D, all 1, 2 and 3. Bank rate, CRR and open market operation. Consider the following. Service area approach was adopted under the purview of lead bank scheme. These banks are responsible for overall development in urban and semi-urban and rural areas. Which of these statements is or are correct? इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी, both 1 and 2. Service area approach was adopted under the purview of lead bank scheme, and these banks are responsible for overall development in urban and semi-urban and rural areas. MS Verma committee is related with restructuring of weak banks, strengthening rural banks, microfinance, none of the above. इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन ए, restructuring of weak banks. With reference to the non-banking financial companies in India, consider the following statements. They cannot engage in the acquisition of securities issued by the government. They cannot accept demand deposits like savings account. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन बी, 2 only. They cannot accept demand deposits like savings account. Consider the following statements about Bharatiya Mahila Bank, the first all-women bank in India. BMB was included in the second schedule of RBI Act 1934. Hence, it is eligible for loans from RBI and membership of clearing houses. As of now, there are 85 branches across the country. It was started with a capital of 1,000 crores and provides loans to the girl child at a concessional rate, which is 0.5% lower than the normal rates. BMB Nahikali is the recurring deposit scheme for the girl child. Which of the above statements is or are correct? इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन ए, 1, 2 and 4 only. Which pair is not correct? Exim Bank financing for export import, RBI Bankers Bank, IDBI Industrial Finance, FCI Financial Assistance to Commercial Institution. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन बी RBI Bankers Bank. The Reserve Bank of India was set up on the basis of the recommendation of the Hilton Young Commission, began its operation by taking over from the government the functions so far being performed by the Controller of Currency and from the Imperial Bank of India, the management of government accounts and public debt. Served as the Central Bank of Pakistan up to June 1956, when the State Bank of Pakistan commenced operations. The bank, which was originally set up as a shareholders' bank, was nationalized in 1956. Which of the above statements about the Reserve Bank of India are correct? तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन बी 1 and 2. It was set up on the basis of the recommendation of the Hilton Young Commission and began its operation by taking over from the government the functions so far being performed by the Controller of Currency and from the Imperial Bank of India, the management of government accounts and public debt. Which of the following pairs of India's public sector banks and their headquarters are correctly matched? Punjab National Bank, New Delhi, Allahabad Bank, Kolkata, Bank of India, Mumbai, Corporation Bank, Bangalore. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी 1, 2 and 3. पंजाब नेशनल बैंक न्यू दिल्ली, अलाहाबाद बैंक कोलकाता एंड बैंक ऑफ इंडिया मुंबई. Which of the following is allowed to invest in all the securities traded on the primary and secondary markets? Pension funds, mutual funds, asset management companies, all of the above. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी all of the above. Pension fund, mutual funds and asset management companies. Which of the following does not come under the functions of the stock exchanges in India? Keeping 1% of the issued capital of the listed companies at the exchange as security on behalf of the SCBI, providing liquidity to the stocks and catering different information services to the stakeholders in the security market of India. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी neither 1 nor 2. Tarapur Committee submitted its report on full convertibility on rupee in current account, capital account, both A and B, special drawing rights. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी special drawing rights. What is Nikkei? Share price index of Tokyo share market, name of Japanese central bank, Japanese name of country's planning commission, फॉरेन एक्सचेंज मार्केट ऑफ जापान. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन ए शेयर प्राइस इंडेक्स ऑफ टोक्यो शेयर मार्केट. कंसिडर द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट्स. Indian depository receipt is an instrument denominated in Indian rupees in the form of a depository receipt created by the custodian of securities registered with the Securities and Exchange Board of India against the underlying equity of issuing company. Standard Chartered plc became the first global company to file for an issue of Indian depository receipts in India. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? This answer is option C, both 1 and 2. Consider the following statements about mutual funds in India. The first Indian mutual fund was set up in 1963. In 1987, the Government of India permitted public sector banks to enter the mutual fund industry. More than 50% of Indian households have invested in mutual funds. Which of the above is or are correct? इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन बी 1 and 2. The first Indian mutual fund was set up in 1963 and in 1987 the Government of India permitted public sector banks to enter the mutual fund industry. The Bombay Stock Exchange launched the BSE thesis Sharia 50, a stock index that is compliant with Sharia. The index cannot invest in shares of companies in which of the following sectors? banking, cement and steel, alcohol and tobacco products. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी 1 and 3 only, banking and alcohol and tobacco products. Consider the following statements about NCERT Stock Exchange. Securities and Exchange Board of India in 2012 granted permission to MCX Stock Exchange to operate as full-fledged stock exchange. SEBI has not allowed the exchange to operate in segments other than currency derivatives. MCX would be able to offer additional asset classes such as equity and equity F&O futures and options, interest rate futures and wholesale debt segments. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? This answer है option D, all of these, 1, 2 and 3. Consider the following statements about FDI India. Mauritius has a share of about 29% in total FDI inflows in India. There are reports of treaty shopping by corporates of other countries. There are also reports of round-tripping through Mauritius. Which of the statements is or are correct? इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी, all 1, 2 and 3. Mauritius has a share of about 29% in total FDI inflows in India. There are reports of treaty shopping by corporates of other countries, and there are also reports of round-tripping through Mauritius. Which of the following is an important scheme of export promotion? Duty entitlement passbook scheme, export promotion capital goods scheme, duty drawback scheme, all of this. This answer है option D, all of these. Duty entitlement passbook scheme, export promotion capital goods scheme and duty drawback scheme. Features of foreign trade policy released in April 2015 include FTP would reduce export obligation by 25% and give boost to domestic manufacturing. Branding campaigns plan to promote exports in sectors where India has traditional strength. Reduce export obligations 75% for domestic procurement under EPCG scheme. Which of these statements is or are correct? इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी, all the 3, 1, 2 and 3. Consider the following regarding export promotion councils. There are at present 21 export promotion councils. It is under the administrative control of Department of Finance. Which of the statements is or are correct? This answer is option A, only 1. There are at present 21 export promotion council. Consider the following statements. Food security law may push India's minimum support price above WTO limits. Agreement on trade facilitation will lead to a decrease in India's export. Select the correct statement using the codes given below. This answer is option A, 1 only. Food security law may push India's minimum support price above WTO limits. Which country first experimented with the monetary policy of quantitative easing? United Kingdom, United States of America, Japan, Germany. This answer is option C, Japan. India's balance of payments position improved dramatically in 2013 to 14. This owed in large part to the measures like custom duty hike in gold, liberalization of external commercial borrowings, FCNR-B swaps by RBI, quasi-sovereign bonds. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. This answer is option D, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Which of these is an incorrect statement? Reverse repo operation by RBI aims at injecting or increasing liquidity. SDR refers to special drawing rights. Rupee appreciation results in decrease in imports. Increase in inflation rate leads to decline in real interest rate. तो इसमें हमारा इनकरेक्ट स्टेटमेंट पूछा है, तो इसका आंसर होगा ऑप्शन सी, रुपी अप्रिसिएशन रिजल्ट्स इन डिक्रीज इन इम्पोर्ट्स। The disadvantage of FDI are foreign investments are always risky because the political situation in some countries can change in an instant. From the foreign affiliates' point of view, FDI is ill advised because they lose their national identity. Investing in foreign countries is infinitely more expensive than exporting goods. Which of the disadvantages given above is or are correct? तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी, ऑल ऑफ दिस, 1, 2 and 3. Through which one of the following sources Indian companies are allowed to access funds from abroad? External commercial borrowings only, foreign currency convertible bonds or foreign currency exchangeable bonds only, preference shares only. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी, ऑल 1, 2 and 3. External commercial borrowings only, foreign currency convertible bonds or foreign currency exchangeable bonds and preference shares only. Which of the following is or are correct about Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana? It is a health insurance program. Both above the poverty line and below the poverty line families is in the unorganized sectors are eligible under scheme. It is fully centrally sponsored scheme. Which of the above statements is or are correct? तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन ए, 1 only. It is health insurance program. Which of the following is or are correct about National Urban Health Mission? It aimed to provide primary health service to urban poor. It mainly targets slum dwellers. It will cover all state capital districts, district headquarters and cities or towns with a population of more than 1 lakh. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. This answer is option A, 1 and 2 only. It is aimed to provide primary health services to urban poor and it mainly targets slum dwellers. Which one of the following is the main objective of the Ujjwala scheme launched for women and children in India? To prevent the trafficking, rescue, rehabilitation, reintegration and repatriation of women and children. To assist women and children below 6 years to attain self-sufficiency in the healthcare and education and nutrition. To prevent women from becoming victims to maternal mortality and infant mortality in the society. None of the above. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन ए, to prevent the trafficking, rescue, rehabilitation, reintegration and repatriation of women and children. Consider the following statements. Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme aims at enhancing livelihood security of households in both rural and urban areas of the country. The primary objective of the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme is to augment wage employment. Which of the statements given above is correct? तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन बी, ओनली 2. Consider the following. NABARD is the nodal agency for implementing the scheme in respect of cooperative credit and RRBs. NABARD is the nodal agency for implementing the Agricultural Debt Waiver and Debt Relief Scheme 2008. Which of the statements is or are correct? इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी, both 1 and 2. Which of the following statement is incorrect? The centrally sponsored National Mission on Micro Irrigation was launched in June 2010. The scheme provides assistance at 90% of the system cost for small and marginal farmers. The scheme provides assistance at 50% for general farmers. It will be used for both horticultural and agricultural crops. तो इसका आंसर है Option B, the scheme provides assistance at 90% of the system cost for small and marginal farmers. इस statement wrong है. Transgenic crop having largest area in world is wheat, rice, cotton, soybean. तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी, सोयाबीन. The rural cooperative banking system has become defunct and not working at appreciable level. The causes include lack of professional management, excessive political and bureaucratic interference, absence of appropriate regulatory framework. Which of the statements is correct? इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी, ऑल 1, 2 and 3. Lack of professional management, excessive political and bureaucratic interference, and absence of appropriate regulatory framework. Consider the following. Rural Infrastructure Development Fund is managed by RBI. The fund was set up in 1995 to 96 for providing loans to state governments and state-owned corporations. Which of these statements is or are correct? This answer is option B, 2 only. The fund was set up in 1995 to 96 for providing loans to state governments and state-owned corporations. Government of India makes allocation of food grains under targeted public distribution system for below poverty line families and Antyodaya Anna Yojana families. What are all the other welfare schemes which provide subsidized food grains? Midday meal scheme, Sabala scheme, village grain bank scheme, Annapurna scheme. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. This answer is option D, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Midday meal scheme, Sabala scheme, village grain bank scheme and Annapurna scheme. Consider the following statement about the Biotechnology Regulatory Authority of India. Bill 2013. Field trials for certain organisms cannot be conducted unless BRAI recognizes them as aiding the development of modern biotechnology. The bill will also apply to the clinical trials of drugs, food and food additives. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? इसका आंसर ऑप्शन ए, 1 only. Field trials for certain organisms cannot be conducted unless BRAI recognizes them as aiding the development of modern biotechnology. Consider the following statements. National Fisheries Development Board is an autonomous organization under the control of Ministry of Agriculture at central level. Fisheries Survey of India is the nodal organization responsible for survey and assessment of fishery resources under the Indian Exclusive Economic Zone. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Please consider option B, both 1 and 2. Which of the following statements is or are correct about the Warehousing Development and Regulatory Authority? Farmers can avail of loans by using the receipt issued for storage of grains at government accredited warehouses. This facility will help farmers avoid distress sales. WADA will facilitate loan waiver for farmers in drought hit areas. This answer option A, 1 and 2 only. Farmers can avail of loans by using the receipts issued for storage of grains at government accredited warehouses, and this facility will help farmers avoid distress sales. As a policy to boost the agricultural sector in the country, the Government of India has taken several special measures over the years. Which of the following cannot be considered a measure or measures which will have a direct impact on the agricultural sector? Setting up of a national food processing bank, opening irrigation, sanitation and water projects for development under public-private partnership, efforts to bring down fiscal deficit to 5.5% level of GDP. तो इसमें कैन नॉट बी ए मेजर पूछा है, तो इसका आंसर होगा ऑप्शन सी, ओनली सी, efforts to bring down fiscal deficit to 5.5% level of GDP. Read the statement carefully. The first apparel park in India has been established in Tirupur in Tamil Nadu. The clothing sector is an export-intensive subsector and contributes about 40 to 50% to total textile export. Which of the statements is or are correct? इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी both 1 and 2. The first apparel park in India has been established in Tirupur in Tamil Nadu, and the clothing sector is an export-intensive subsector and contributes about 40 to 50% to total textile export. Major items produced by the small-scale industrial sector includes processed food, leather and leather products, sports goods. Which of these statements is or are correct? This answer is option D, all 1, 2 and 3. Processed food, leather and leather products and sports goods. Omkar Goswami Committee is related with Committee on Industrial Sickness and Corporate Restructuring, Tax Reform, Disinvestment, none of the above. This answer is option A, Committee on Industrial Sickness and Corporate Restructuring. Which of the following are not part of 8 core industries in India? Electricity, cement, textile, natural gas, fertilizer. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. तो इसमें नॉट ए पार्ट ऑफ कोर इंडस्ट्री का है, इसका आंसर होगा ऑप्शन बी, 3 ओनली, टेक्सटाइल. कंसिडर द फॉलोइंग स्टेटमेंट्स. Under the Panchayat Extension to Scheduled Areas Act 1996, the prior recommendation of the Gram Sabha is required when a prospecting license or a mineral concession is granted. A holder of a coal or lignite mining lease will pay 26% of profits to the District Mineral Foundation. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? इसका आंसर होगा ऑप्शन सी, both 1 and 2. Consider the following statement. In Indian economy, the employment generated by the private sector is more than that of the public sector. In Indian economy, the growth rate of public sector in the industrial areas like heavy and basic industries, machine goods sector, etc. is more than that of the private sector. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? This answer is option C, both 1 and 2. Consider the following statements. Indian sugar industry is suffering from cheap imports. Which destabilize the domestic industry. The Indian sugar industry is suffering from outdated machinery and inefficiency. The crushing season of sugarcane in the southern India is of greater duration than northern India. Which of the above statements are correct? This answer is option A, 1, 2 and 3. Indian sugar industry is suffering from cheap imports which destabilize the domestic industry. The Indian sugar industry is suffering from outdated machinery and inefficiency, and the crushing season of sugarcane in the southern India is of greater duration than northern India. Consider the following statements regarding SME, Small and Medium Enterprises of India. SME contribute the majority of industrial production of India. SME contribute towards majority exports of India. NSE, National Stock Exchange, has an SME index, but BSE, Bombay Stock Exchange, does not have the same. Which of the above statements are correct? This answer is option D, 1 and 2. SME contribute the majority of industrial production to India, and SME contribute towards majority exports of India. Consider the following regarding the international organization Asian Clearing Union. Asian Clearing Union was established in 1975 with a view to provide the clearing facilities in current international transactions among Asian countries. Initially, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Nepal, Sri Lanka, and Iran were its members. Myanmar also joined it in 1977. Which of the statements is or are correct? This can answer option D, all 1, 2, and 3. What is the current deadline to ratify the World Trade Organization's Trade Facilitation Agreement? December 2015, March 2016, April 2016, December 2016. This answer is option A, December 2015. Consider the following regarding International Development Association. IDA is an associate institution of World Bank known as soft loan window of World Bank. The resources of IDA include subscribed capital by member countries, general replenishments by developed countries, net income transferred by IBRD. Which of these statements is or are correct? This answer is option C, both 1 and 2. Consider the following regarding International Monetary Fund. It was established on December 27, 1945 in Washington on the recommendation of Bretton Woods Conference. At present, it has 188 members. France was the first country to borrow from IMF. Which of the statements is or are correct? This answer is option D, all 1, 2, and 3. It was established on December 27, 1945 in Washington on the recommendation of Bretton Woods Conference. At present, it has 188 members and France was the first country to borrow from IMF. As regards the use of international food safety standards as a reference point for the dispute settlements, which one of the following does WTO collaborate with? Codex Alimentarius Commission, International Federation of Standards Users, International Organization for Standardization, World Standards Corporation. This answer is option A, Codex Alimentarius Commission. In the context of the bilateral trade negotiation between India and European Union, what is the difference between European Commission and European Council? European Commission represents the EU in the trade negotiation, whereas European Council participates in the legislation of matters pertaining to economic policies of the EU. European Commission comprises the head of states, government or members countries, whereas the European Council comprises the persons nominated by the European Parliament. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Is answer option D, neither 1 nor 2. Conditionality of an IMF loan to a member country stands for interest and repayment terms of the loan, an assessment of the credit worthiness of the borrower, schedule of disbursement of loan installments, the policy steps which the borrower country must take. This answer option D, the policy steps which the borrower country must take. Which one of the following is an economic phenomenon occurring when a country experiences high inflation for a prolonged period of time? Headline inflation, chronic deflation, chronic inflation, core inflation. This answer is option C, chronic inflation. Which one of the following is related with the core inflation of an economy? Inflation which excludes certain items that face volatile price movements. Inflation which includes certain items that face volatile price movements. Inflation due to rise in the production of non-agricultural products, both A and B. This answer option A, inflation which excludes certain items that face volatile price movements. Consider the following statements. Headline inflation is a measure of the total inflation within an economy. Headline inflation is affected by areas of the market which may experience sudden inflationary spikes such as food, vegetables, or energy. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Please consider option C, both 1 and 2. In economics, Phillips curves represent the relationship between inflation and wage rise, inflation and unemployment, stagflation and deflation, demand and supply of goods. Please consider option B, inflation and unemployment. Which of the following factors are the main contributors for the persistent food inflation? Growing income level of people, restrictive provisions of Agriculture Produce Marketing Committee Act, multiple layers of intermediation. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. Please consider option D, 1, 2 and 3. Assertion: the imports of sensitive goods can cause inflation. Reason: sensitive goods are the goods which are highly subsidized in the foreign countries. Choose the correct option. Please consider option D, both assertion and reason are incorrect. Consider the following statements. Stagflation is a condition of slow economic growth and relatively high unemployment, a time of stagnation accompanied by a rise in prices or inflation. Reflation is a fiscal or monetary policy designed to expand a country's output and curb the effects of deflation. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? Please consider option A, only 1. Consider the following statements. The Lorenz curve is a graphical representation of relative poverty. The Lorenz curve is used to calculate the Gini coefficient, which is numerical indicator of inequality. Which of the statements is or are correct? Please consider option C, both 1 and 2. The Lorenz curve is a graphical representation of relative poverty, and the Lorenz curve is used to calculate the Gini coefficient, which is numerical indicator of inequality. What do you understand by poverty gap? It is a measurement of the intensity of poverty among the poor, the difference between the mean income and among the poor and the poverty line. The poverty gap index is the combined measurement of incidence of poverty and depth of poverty. Which of these statements is or are correct? Please consider option C, both 1 and 2. Consider the following statements. The growing unemployment scenario in the world reveals that the situation in India is worse than that of Bangladesh and Pakistan. According to the unemployment scenario, the unemployment is rapidly increasing both in Asian and European countries. In India, percentage of unemployment to the population is higher in the southern states like Kerala. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. Please consider option D, 1, 2 and 3. Consider the following statements about the National Rural Livelihoods Mission. At least one member from each identified rural poor household, preferably a woman, to be brought under the SHG network. Subsidy to be available in the form of revolving fund and capital subsidy as an incentive for inculcating the habit of thrift and accumulation of their own funds. To work towards universal financial inclusion beyond basic banking services to all poor households. To pursue skill upgradation and placement projects through partnership mode. Which of the salient features given above are correct about the National Rural Livelihoods Mission? Please consider option D, all of this. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Consider the following. Urban self-employment program. Development of women and children in urban areas. Which of the schemes given above is or are the important components of the Swarna Jayanti शहरी रोजगार योजना। तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी बोथ 1 and 2, urban self-employment program and development of women and children in urban areas. Consider the following statements. If the parent group is registering a loss, then the subsidiary company does not have to spend under the corporate social responsibility provisions. Under the Companies Bill 2012, CSR spending has been made mandatory for profit-making companies over a certain threshold. Which of the above statements is correct? तो इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन डी ओनली 2. Under the Companies Bill 2012, CSR spending has been made mandatory for profit-making companies over a certain threshold. The central government's overall spending on providing social services has increased over the past 6 years. On rural development has decreased over the past 6 years. On the health sector has stagnated over the past 6 years. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? इसका आंसर है ऑप्शन सी 1, 2 and 3. On providing social services has increased over the past 6 years. On rural development has decreased over the past 6 years. And on the health sector was stagnant over the past 6 years. तो इसी के साथ हमारा आज का टेस्ट सीरीज कंप्लीट हो गया है। और अगर आप चैनल पर नए हैं तो चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दीजिए और नोटिफिकेशन आइकन पर क्लिक कर दीजिए ताकि आपको सारे वीडियोस के अपडेट्स मिल सके। अगर आपको वीडियो अच्छा लगे तो लाइक कर दीजिए, साथ ही अपने दोस्तों के साथ शेयर कीजिए ताकि उन्हें भी हेल्प हो सके। तो हमारा आज का ये वीडियो यहीं तक था। थैंक यू, थैंक्स फॉर वॉचिंग।